going on, people? Myke C-Town here with another metal review. These videos used to be called Metal Monday videos. I was going to do them every Monday or every other Monday, but I'm going to have to change that because I want to do these more often and I just cannot seem to get them done by Monday. They're still going to follow the same format where I talk about a newer metal release and then I also talk about an older metal release, one that's just been getting a lot of replay in my stereo for the past week or 2 weeks or whatever. But yeah, stay tuned. You're going to be seeing a lot more metal reviews from me as the future comes. So for this one, we're going to be talking about two records. The first one is the debut album from the band Serpents Lair entitled Circumambulating the Stillborn. Serpents Lair is a black metal band from Denmark. I first heard them back in 2014 when they were on this best demo list by Cult Nation. And I don't always agree with Cult Nation, but I definitely agree more with them than other publications like Pitchfork or anything else. That Serpent Slayer demo was absolutely incredible. It's dark, it's chaotic, it's got really interesting guitar work that not many other black metal bands can pull off. And after hearing it, I feared that it would be one of those bands that kind of just dropped something awesome and then we never hear from them again. But luckily, I was wrong. Fallen Empire Records along with Health Asher Productions dropped Serpent Slayer's long-awaited full-length Circumambulating the Stillborn, and I couldn't ask for a better debut from these guys. Like, it follows up their demo brilliantly. One of the best things about this band is their ability to still do something new with black metal in 2015. You know, they're not shattering the mold completely, but they have a really interesting way of writing songs. It's not just a whole bunch of tremolo picking and blast beats. You know, this is a black metal band that's unable to write basic run-of-the-mill black metal. Like, this album is full of textures and advanced songwriting that's totally refreshing to the genre. Starting with the nice, almost cheesy intro, we get into Epistemology of Death, which absolutely kills. You know, really cool guitar work on this track, starting off fast, then quickly going into something that's a little bit slower, more driving. That's just as mesmerizing as the part before it. A lot of black metal bands who throw slower parts into their songs, they don't add a lot of flair to them. You know, no real musicality, just a slower, sometimes boring riff to add a slight change of pace to the song. But that's not the case with Serpent Slayer. They have this great way of having just as many drudging, slow parts as they do faster parts. And these slower parts are actually what makes Serpent Slayer so great. They provide a lot of intense atmosphere. Probably my favorite song on here is Morti Vivos Descent, and I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that. But the build-up at the beginning of that song is so well done, and it's on this song that I realized that these guys are the kings of transitions. How they move from part to part is absolutely flawless. There's not a lot of repetition here with riffs on this album, so being able to keep a song interesting without having a central riff to get stuck in your head is a difficult task, but these guys accomplish it with ease. The way it moves from clean part to fast part to mid-paced and so on and so forth on this track is done incredibly well. The song right after this one is another one of my favorite tracks on here, the Serpentine Gnosis. And what the guitars and drums are doing at the early part of this track is absolutely crazy. And the part around the 4-minute mark of this song, when the guitars thin out a bit with the galloping drum backdrop, it gets me every single time. And speaking of the vocals, I think that's the biggest improvement from the demo to this album. I like the vocals on the demo, but they were just a bit too yelled for me. And on this album, they have more of a gruffness to them, and they almost remind me a bit of what Myke does, but they have more range than what Myke does, I'd say. You know, he's covering a bit more ground than your average black metal band. You know, and all that's to say that the vocals are just fucking awesome. This isn't an album that you can fully process on one listen. You know, there's just so much going on here. Again, this is a black metal band, but this is a black metal band that's intent on writing full songs and not just a few riffs with some blast beats behind them. You know, these guys carefully construct these arrangements within these songs that may not even be noticeable on the first listen. What you'll hear at first just may sound like great black metal, but once you really analyze to the best of your ability what's going on these tracks, you'll begin to hear the intricacies within this album that make it so fucking good. And the overall atmosphere of this record is great. It has this this really cavernous and claustrophobic feel that I really love with black metal. And, you know, similar to what you get with some of Leviathan's releases, or what you get with like Carpe Noctem or the Misfirming album. But, you know, not to say that they're similar in sound, just kind of similar in the overall ambience of the albums. In the end, this record is absolutely fantastic. Great atmosphere, incredible and gutsy songwriting, a lot of progressive elements, but not to the point of making your average cult elitist dickhead get all nervous. But this is just really well done, dark, scary, and expertly executed black metal. So give it a shot. Let me know what you think. The next record I'm going to talk about is the album Lead Us Into Darkness by the band Demonic. Demonic is a band from Oslo, Norway that I discovered completely by accident. This is back when I was originally getting into black metal in like the late 90s, and I would just buy stuff based on the cover art. And I found this CD at a local pawn shop of all places, and the logo was enough to get me to buy it. I was totally lucky in that this gamble had positive results. These guys play fast black metal that's, for the most part, pretty standard, but that's not to say it's not done extremely well. It has an old school feel without being dated, even though it came out in like 1995. It definitely has a Dark Throne, Blazing the Northern Sky feel to it, but again, it's done so well that the songs simply come off as being influenced by instead of stolen from. One thing you notice with this release is the addition of some synth, but don't let that freak you out. It's not like Cradle of Filth or Demi Borgir. You know, it gives you far more of a similar feel to early Emperor. And, you know, as you hear with the opening track, Spell of the Witch Demon, the keys add like a sinister feel to the tracks. The way that song comes in is just straight in your face and relentless. And I feel like the keys actually add a really cool element to that song. You'll also immediately notice some fantastic musicianship here. Fantastic riffing with some great time changes. And the drummer adds a great backdrop to these songs, perfectly complementing the awesome guitar work. And what I love about this band is their ability to keep the songs interesting by doing a lot of tempo changes within the tracks. You know, not always from fast to slow or vice versa, but even just the feel of the slower parts to the next slower part is done really well so that the track keeps you on your toes. You know, the songwriting isn't necessarily technical or complex, but the riffs are good enough and the changes are frequent enough to keep everything interesting. Probably my favorite track is track 2, The Unholy Gates of Limbo, and mainly because I love that opening riff. But the entire song is full of great riffs. Again, a lot of changes here within this one song, and each riff is absolutely fantastic. But the one thing that's perplexed me for as long as I've owned this CD is how this song literally ends in the middle of a riff. Like, I assume it was on purpose, but it's so fucking bizarre that I would love to know what the band was thinking when they did this. There are only 4 tracks on here, but they're all quality black metal. You know, you may put this on and say, oh, that's been done before, and you'd be absolutely correct. The great thing about black metal isn't always the innovation. Sometimes it's just the great execution, and that's something I think that Demonic, despite having a totally stupid name, that's what I think they do here. You know, it's raw without being unlistenable, while still giving you that ugliness that we all love from black metal, and they just play the stuff extremely well. You know, overall, I don't think these guys are murdering expectations or breaking any molds, but they're just playing some super quality black metal. So if you're ever in the mood for some great classic Norwegian black metal, I think you should definitely give these guys a shot. So that's it. If you guys have listened to either one of these releases, make sure you throw some comments in the comment section down there and let me know what you guys think. Or if there's any other great metal releases that have come out recently that you'd like for me to talk about, make sure you throw that in the comment section down there as well. And you will be seeing more of these, hopefully very soon. Alright? As usual, thank you for living, thank you for loving, thank you for being you, and I will see you guys next time. Alright? Peace, bitches!